Hello, 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 my dear friends. Hello, my young titans. Welcome. Today is November 14th, and we are here in our Saturday session on the Young Titans platform. I welcome every one of you. People who have been here before, welcome back, but a warm welcome to everyone from around the world. Today we have a special guest, by the way, a special guest who has added value to thousands and thousands of people. He has his own radio show. He has his own book. He is an author, writer, coach. Say, we will talk much more detail as we go through. But he is a wonderful guy, and you're going to today an understanding of some of the principles of life which you might not have had before. One of the most successful guys I know, one of the most wonderful friends, amazing guy. So, my dear friends, let me welcome you to this platform. So, what exactly is Young Titans platform for people who are new here? Well, Young Titans platform is where the young professionals and entrepreneurs join after their college graduation or when they are starting and have gone into the workforce to propel their career, get inspired, and become a part of the thriving community. Listen, if you are not a part of this community, you are missing out. Now, please share this live recording with your friends, family, and others. Like our page, subscribe to our channel. Please send us live questions in the Facebook comments, and we can answer them right here. But you can also always email us at info at unextleadership.com. Again, info at next leadership.com. Now, YTP, the Young Titans platform, fills the gap from what you know and what you need to know for you to succeed. In short, YTP fills the gap between you and the leadership as a young professional embarking in the workforce or, or as a new entrepreneur. See, there are a lot of trainings, schools, and colleges and departments to start a career. And when you are in a job, they have the leadership trainings and technical trainings in the corporations and in the workforce. But what about the new graduates? There's nothing out there that fills this gap. And I'm telling you, there are a lot of people I have met, a lot of people I have coached who are telling me there's nothing out there to fill this gap. And they get very confused sometimes at this juncture. And so that is why we created this platform to fill that gap. In this platform, we have brought you various speakers, panelists each week, and each of them have their own strengths, own backgrounds. So what you're learning from these high achievers is how they got there. Now, they were not lucky. They created their own luck. So what you are going to learn is from the mistakes that all of us have made so that it shortens your curve to the success that you are looking for. So who am I? I'm Raj Kapoor, and I'm the founder and CEO of Options Ahead. For over 30 years, I have been an influencer and I have been an entrepreneur with the business, always having a business on the side. Now I'm teaching wealth and mindset principles, including running online course called Guidance to Wealth, along with doing mentoring and coaching. I'm an executive and wealth mindset coach. I also have an internet radio on ibgr.network and talk to small businesses. I'm an author. First is Jan Roberts. Jan Roberts right now is in Scotland and he couldn't join us for some reason, but he spoke to us in one of the YTP sessions. He's a great guy. He's a leader who is serving others, and he has over 30 years of experience. Next would be Arti Moore. She joins us generally from South Africa, a dynamic lady and a speaker. And she was again featured here. over 20 years of experience, successful entrepreneur, two international companies, and you will be seeing her soon. My very dear friend Ron Cooper. Ron, who retired from US Air Force. 52 years of marriage with his wife Marty, and their relationship has helped organizations develop high performing teams through both human behavior, personal coaching, and leadership training. Uh, Wonderful, wonderful people. And they have some great programs. So you will be seeing Ron very soon. He might be joining us even today, a little bit later on. And let's introduce Dr. Halida. Hello, welcome, Dr. Halida. As usual, it is so wonderful to see
Thank
you.
thank
Your
you very much.
your beautiful smile, your gracious presence.
Thank
Uh,
you.
just it's amazing to learn from Dr. Halida every single time. And she was the first speaker over here in the YTP platform. And that is how it all started. Currently, Dr. Halida is a faculty member of International Health Department at John Hopkins Bloomberg Pub- School of Public Health. Her achievements and awards are very long, but I'll tell you, she has demonstrated leadership roles by founding a reproductive health research institute. She helped develop reproductive health research capacity through conducting scientific research in Bangladesh. She has over 40 journal publications and served on many committees of WHO, Geneva, International Medical Advisory Panel, of IPPF London, on alternate
Thank you.
business model of Packard Foundation, and I'm telling you so much more. But I'm telling you, we are grateful that she's with us. She has mentored us, and we are grateful for her to be here. And now, let's bring on our keynote speaker, my great friend Eric Reid, who is going to make a difference in your life today. Welcome, Eric. Welcome. It's just so wonderful to have you here. I have seen your work, and I am just flabbergasted as to how you are able to accomplish so much. So much. You have been an inspiration, and the material that you bring to people is life changing material. Life changing material. So before I get into into detail, what I would like to do is I would like to give it over to Sheikh to formally introduce my friend Eric, and then we will go from there. And Eric is going to add value to you, so remain tuned here.
Well, Raj, I don't want to actually take time. Let us get started. All I can say, I am thankful to Eric, and I have had a great opportunity in Paraguay when, as a John Maxwell team member, I was able to get there. Now, one thing I do want to emphasize here that as a John Maxwell trainer, coach, and speaker, I myself learned a lot of things, of course, from that actual platform, face-to-face trainings, and year after year, and all those things. From I've been involved from 2014 or so. I think similar time when Raj was involved, or Eric was probably involved right before then or before after that. But what I wanted to emphasize on is that you don't learn from the platform itself or it is the people that makes a difference. And that is what Eric did for me. He was with me in the bus for a long time. We were going to the US Embassy in Paraguay, and we had a great time in there, of course, food and all those things. And there was no mask at that time, by the way. So things were a little bit more normal. But the time, the engagement, and the learnings, and the person who he is, the dad he is, the father he is, the pastor he is, the religious person, and the human he is. That's what I got to learn, and that's when I knew this is a genuine person. And I believe he was still living in Uruguay at that time, sacrificing a lot of things. And there's a lot of things to learn about him, and from his videos and from his success life view and all those, I learn almost on a daily basis something new. So it's a tremendous privilege for me, and I don't take that lightly. But I don't want to take any more time. I would like to present you uh, Eric Reid.
Well, thank you, Sheikh, for having me with you guys today and with the Young Entrepreneurs Network. When I met you in Paraguay, we spent a lot of time just hanging out and talking, and we connected. And then over the years, we can continue to connect. And so when you asked me, um, am I available? I said, yes, pick a day and I will make myself available, because serving you and serving others is really what my passion is and my purpose is on a bigger scale. So first and foremost, thank you for inviting me to be here and to add value to your community. It's interesting when you ask me, would you be here? And we had a conversation earlier this week, and I was like, well, I don't know what to talk about. You've had so many amazing panelists, and you've got so many amazing teachers coming up in the future. How can I add value? And as we dug into it, what I realized is that the one thing that I struggled with coming out of college, going into my professional career, is probably the same thing many, many of the people watching today are struggling with. And you said, speak into that, because that is the purpose of this network. That is the purpose of this community, is to give those young entrepreneurs, young business people, young career starters, an advantage that maybe we, the old gray-haired people, lacked. And so I remember when I graduated college. It's a sad day, I have to say, but I had graduated with a degree in biochemistry. I went to biochemistry, and the journey was very funny because I loved being with people. I loved teaching. I loved psychology. I loved social work. I loved all of that in college. But I called my mother one day and I said, I'm going to grow up and be this. And she said, no, you're not. And I said, what do you mean, no, I'm not? And she said, you're never going to make any money. You're never going to be happy. You're always going to be unemployed. There's nobody out there in the world that's ever going to want you to be anything. Go do what you know you can do. And I was like, but that's what I want to do. And basically they kind of said, well, if you don't do what we tell you to do, you're not going to be getting any more help from us to chase this crazy dream. So I really quickly shifted my major and dove into becoming a biochemist, because I was good in biology and I was good in science. And I figured there's always got to be somebody that can like look through a microscope and figure out what a problem was. And at least it tapped into a little piece of my passion, which was problem solving. So I did all my schoolwork and I graduated, and it was getting to that fourth year, that year where it's like, okay, I'm so close to the finish line. I shouldn't turn back, but I want to turn back, but I can't turn back because I'm running out of money. But I tried to turn back and throw in a teaching certificate towards the end, but couldn't get it done. So I left with a degree in biochemistry. I hated who I was in that moment. I hated the outlook of my future. I thought, I am going to spend the rest of my life wearing a white coat, looking down through a microscope, making this little clicking sound to see how many things that I was counting that were either dying or living because of the petri dish I was staring at. I hated what my future looked like. And I kept saying, well, I'm going to go into geriatric research or medical interactions between, and I tried to keep figuring out how I could take what I had and make it something I wanted. And I failed. I hated my life. I woke up and I was going into a lab and I was doing the work that I was hired to do. And I was coming home going, really? I'm like 20 something and I've got to live to be about 80. And this is what it's going to look like. There was no passion. There was no excitement. There was no joy in the work that I was doing. I've been raised to do a good job and to lean fully into the work that I was doing, but I didn't wake up wanting to race into work. And I thought, I've got to break this. I've got to be willing to say, I'm sorry, Mom. I'm sorry, Dad. I'm sorry, everybody that had expectations for my life. But this has got to be my life, because at the end of the day, I'm the only guy that's going to be living in that little 6-foot coffin box. I've got to do this my way. And so I broke away. And I ran off to Australia for a year. Basically, I think some people call it a walkabout. And I spent a year just walking about, doing really crazy jobs like picking tomatoes or bussing tables to get cash and stay gone. And then I went to the Philippines, and about a year later I got home and I'm like, you know what? The world did not miss me when I was gone. The biochemistry industry did not suddenly shut down because my talent and my knowledge was missing. So clearly there's something bigger for me to be doing in the world, because if I was doing what I was really called into being, like really called into being, there would have been a great vacuum created when I stepped out of it. So I began to ask myself, and I didn't get the answer in the first week or the first year or even the first 5 years. What is my reason for being? Like, what is my why? Like, why am I on this planet? And I sought out religion, and I sought out coaches, and I sought out philosophers. Like, I sought out everybody to answer the question. And I was so hoping that I would like go into somebody's office and they're like, "Oh, we're so glad you're here. We've been waiting to tell you. Here's your why. It's on a sheet of paper. Go follow it." It doesn't work that way. And so what I want to encourage you guys is, I understand you've invested a lot of time, a lot of money, a lot of resources to get where you are right now. But looking into the future, looking into the forward lens, are you living fully into who you were created and designed to be? Is the path that you're on going to intersect with what you were ultimately allowed to do on this planet? And if you think, wow, I'm not sure if it is, I put together a resource and they're going to put up the link for that. But I want to talk about what this why thing is. And this why thing is your purpose. It's your cause. It's your belief. It's not, I'm at this point in my life because my big why is to pay off college debt, or my big why is to create great credit or to create wealth. That's not a why. That's an end goal. That's a stepping stone. That's a place in the future you need to arrive at in order to continue to create the great mission that you were assigned. That big why is that thing that drives you in every decision you make. When I know my why and somebody comes up with an opportunity, no matter how big, how shiny, how fantastic, how exciting it is, if it doesn't sit next to my why, it's not for me. I had a good friend of ours, Becky, you know Becky's Faith really well, and she said, we all arrive at divine appointments, but not all of them belong to us. Sometimes we have to have the wisdom to know that this is my appointment and this is my appointment to guide somebody else too. And so sometimes I'll have big, shiny objects, big opportunities, things that would catapult success beyond what I can see. And I have to be willing to say, oh, that belongs to somebody else. That is so clearly closer to their why than my why. I need to let them have it. So when I talk about that big why, you know it, you feel it, it vibrates in you. It's your calling. In my belief, it is what I was designed for. That in the great universe, in the great beyond where I can't see or know, that there was a place that said, this is what we need you to appear on this time, in this place, on this planet for. Now, not all of us have these whys that will transform the universe and cure cancer or create world peace or feed 1 million children. But an act of kindness to a single individual could save their life, and that may be the person that cures cancer. That may be the person that transforms the world. That may be the person that brings about such a revolution that we've never seen. Being the mother of a daughter who goes out into a nation and speaks about peace and harmony and transformation. That would crush me. That would be bigger than I could see. So it's that path forward. In the resource that I created, there's a series of questions, and I'm not going to have time to go deep into them, but I want to sort of go over them so you understand the construction of it. So the big why is what makes you come alive. Now, I'm not talking about your favorite football or cricket team or, your favorite reality TV show. That may spark some level of energy, but that's not what makes you come alive. What makes you come alive, and there's 3 questions you can kind of ask, is what brings me joy? Not happiness, not laughter, but joy. And then what inspires me? When I see somebody else doing it, or I hear about it being done, or I read about it being done, I want to just stand up and applaud, even though that person might not be in the room. Or what what pulls me into the next moment, even though I'm really, really tired and I don't want to go there. It was funny, this morning I was out and I was trying to get my 10Ks in. I'm old, I'm crippled, I'm broken down. And I came in the door and I had like no energy left. It was like, you can imagine. But then all of a sudden I was like, oh wait, I get to go teach and I get to go share and I get to go be a part of this thing called the Young Entrepreneurs Network. And I was like, suddenly my energy returned. Because that's what keeps me alive. That's what brings me life and joy. And then as you begin to figure out what is my why, think about what is your innate strength. Now, by innate strength, it's often that thing that you do so easily that everybody just sits back and goes, I have no idea how he does that. Like, where does, like they're just amazed. My son is 11, and every so often I'll buy him one of those 1,000-piece Lego sets because I figure it will occupy him for at least a weekend, if not 3 days, and there won't be fighting with his sister. And about 2 hours later, he'll come back and be done. I'm like, how do you do that so easily? How do you do that so quickly? How do you see all of those pieces coming together in that finished thing without even looking at the instructions? You have an innate strength. You can listen to what others say. You can find the thing that you do easy. You can do the thing that you enjoy. That strength often comes with something that we're just naturally like, yeah, I love doing this. I could do this all day long and not be paid. For me, often my innate strength comes with people telling me to shut up. Because they'll be like, shut up, enough already. We know you love this. We know this is your passion. We know this is where you dig into. So if you find yourself getting up on a soapbox or leaning into teaching somebody something, whether it's microbiology or engineering or human services or whatever, but if people are just like, okay, enough about finances or enough about Bitcoin or enough about, that's probably one of your innate strengths. And then another easy way of figuring out, number two, understanding what your innate strength is to ask people. Just ask them. I was funny because, again, my mother, who has a great deal of influence in my life, when she told me to go into biochemistry, you do what mother says, and I did. And then through a series of life events and changes, and as years went by, and I began to tell her what I really was passionate about, and I went back and got my master's in family therapy and psychology and grief counseling, and I began to do that and work with kids in crisis and families in crisis. I remember calling my mother and talking about it, almost to the point that she said, shut up. And she said, I knew you'd be good at that. You've always been really good at that. That's one of the things you do well, is listen in and then help people solve problems. And part of me wanted to just like cry out of pride. And the other part of me was like, so why did you force me into biochemistry when you knew that my strength, my gift, my talent was way over here? And her fear of keeping me safe, her fear of wanting to make sure I had everything that I needed in order to survive in the world because of her story of having to be a single mother and growing up the youngest of 13 and all of the challenges she faced, she said, well, at least I can keep my kids safe from this by guaranteeing them a career that will pay them well. And when she began to realize that within my joy, within my happiness, within my passion and my strength, I was succeeding, I was excelling, I was creating a life that I wanted, she realized that, you know what? Maybe she was wrong. Now, being my mother, she wouldn't necessarily say that out loud, but she had hinted that she might have been wrong. And so don't be afraid to ask those people around you and say, what do you think is my giftedness? What do you think is my innate strength? Where do you think that regardless of what I do in my daily job, I'm really good at? There's a lot of tests and quizzes and online platforms that you can take to discover it. But when I take all of those over and over again, it says problem solving, problem solving. So as I said, biochemistry appealed to a part of that because it was about problem solving, but the other part is about people. And I couldn't connect in the biochemistry world that problem solving and people in a way that I understood and that brought me joy. But when I went and got my master's and I could sit and help families solve problems right there in front of me, heart to heart, eye to eye, I was on fire. I was working and loving it. And what I do now in working with clients and book writers and content creators and businesses on creating story brands, the problem that I solve is making sure that their story gets heard. Just like when I sat there with those kids and they weren't feeling as if their story, who they were, was being heard, and teaching them how to be heard, and then their parents being able to hear them and then create a new story. Those things have been consistent throughout my career. And so ask people. And then the third level of really figuring out this why is, where do you add value? You may not think of it as value like Benjamin's off the top of a stack, but where do you add value to others? And where do you add value to yourself? And by that, I mean, like, where does your self-esteem go? Like, you know what? I'm good at this. You know what? I don't need nobody to tell me. I can tell I'm good at this. Where do you see yourself making a difference? Or where do people call you and go, we really need you to be a part of this thing that we're doing because we know you can make a difference? Or after you leave a room, somebody might say, man, you really made a difference. And you were like, really? That was kind of easy for me. That's what I do naturally. That's where you should be living into your why more. One of the things that's been interesting for me in regards to this is I see myself as a peer. No matter who I'm speaking to, no matter what credentials or certifications or age or level they seem to acquire, because I'm living into my passion, because I'm living into my why, because I'm taking myself from my strengths and my joy and my purpose, I feel equal to them. I'm not worried about showing up good enough. I'm not worried about showing up with enough credentials or education or whatever, because I live and breathe this thing. I'm like consumed with getting good at it, even when nobody's looking. That when I show up as me, and people be like, you know what? We got respect for that one. The other way you can do it is really that place where you're willing to set boundaries. Because when we value something about ourselves, we guard it. We set those boundaries really tight. Like, no, nobody's going to touch this. Nobody's going to take this away from me. Not in a lack or a fearful way, but because we want to protect something that means so much to us. And when I work with kids and youth, and one thing you don't talk that way to kids, not in my company, not in my circle. You don't talk about yourself if you're one of my clients. And I'll hear you say something in the middle of a coaching session, and I will stop us dead and I will say, not up in here. We don't talk about ourselves that way. Not up in here will I allow that word to stand in the air without being corrected, because I believe every human being has a story, and that story is worthy of being told, and that story can transform the world. And if you take any part of that and break it, I'm going to put it back together before we move on. I have very clear boundaries about what I believe, and I won't let people step into my beliefs and destroy them without letting them know that I am guarding this because it's sacred to me. It's part of who I am. It's what I believe I was called in to do. And I don't mean this just in a coaching or counseling or teaching sense. I mean it with whatever you're doing. You know, Raj is involved in finance, and he has really clear boundaries of what financial health looks like, what wealth creation looks like, and that you don't take the shortcut to do it, that you do the right thing at the right time as it relates to your finances and wealth building, because he knows in his core of core what that can create for an individual or a company or a nonprofit. So when you're living within your purpose, when you're living within your why, you can get really clear on your boundaries. And one of the other things that's really about adding value is knowing that you're good enough. When I left college with that biochemistry degree, I didn't think I was good enough. I didn't think I was good enough to even like clean petri dishes, because I just didn't care. And when I didn't care, it kind of became like, I don't care. I'm not good enough anyhow. So if they fire me, no big loss. I was really sabotaging my own success with that mindset. But there have been times in my life where I've really had to stop and say, am I good enough? And when I look at the long arm of what I've created, when I look at what I do, I'm like, yeah, I'm good enough. Now, it may not show up in having 10,000 likes on a single post, or I may not be rolling in six-figure incomes every time I speak. But I know that when I speak, somebody always goes, man, I needed that. All right, I'm good enough. I'm good enough to impact one life in the way that I want to impact a life. That's all I need. So after you've sort of begun to figure out your why, as you begin to move into your why, as you begin to push towards that thing, the question I always ask myself is, how am I going to measure my life? Like, how do I measure whether I'm being successful? Because I don't want to go back to that trap of looking at my bank account or looking at the credentials that I've acquired, or whether I'm sitting in the corner office or if I have the right friends as a definition of my success. And one of the things I use to determine if I'm living successfully is, what's my energy level? Like, if I'm walking through kicking stones and just waiting to get back to bed and it's only 11 o'clock in the morning, something's wrong. And it's not necessarily with my health, because this controls a whole lot of this. So what is your energy level? And what is your energy level as it relates to your career and your family and your faith and your love life, or what other areas of your life? Do you find that you have more energy in one area and less in another? That's a question I dig into. What is your output is another way that I measure my life. And I don't mean my output like, did I write 10 books this season, or did I edit 4 bestsellers? But am I putting out quality? Am I leaning in at the very highest level that I'm available to? And is it being received that way? And then number 3 in that list for me, and again, all of these are in the ebook. If you guys need it, it's at successlifeu.com/why. Is, what is the quality of my relationships? There have been seasons from college to today where I aligned with things that I knew were not in alignment with my why, but I thought I could maybe force them into alignment. And all of a sudden, everything else was falling apart. My relationship with my spouse, I was angry at my kids, my health and my waistline was going out of control. And I was like, man, why is everything falling apart? Well, because you're spending all of your energy, all of your force, all of your strength trying to force something into an agreement with you that was never meant to be an agreement with you. You had convinced yourself simply by will that you could make the universe bend to you when you weren't even willing to bend towards it. And so when I look at the quality of my relationships, even in the office, and they're not where I want them to be, I'm like, really? If this was the last day, the last moment, is this how I want to exit? You know, it's been a long journey for me from college to today. A long, long journey. And I've made a ton of mistakes. I've made a ton of failures. I've forced myself into situations that I knew that were wrong. And then I went blindly into other situations that later hit me in the butt. And I wish that had I known and had the courage, more so the courage and the strength back when I was in my 20s and 30s, to go, you know what? No, I'm sorry. I may disappoint you, but guess what? This is my life. This is my journey. This is my story. This is my why. And if I don't live into it fully and authentically and completely, then I'm doing a disservice to myself and the people around me and to the universe that created me. And it's not going to be easy. It's not going to be quick. It's not going to be fast. But I would rather end this journey knowing that I was as close to me as I could be, as authentically me as I could be, than still be kicking and fighting my way through an experience or an event just because everybody thought that's what was best for me. So what can I tell you? You just got to know your why, and you've got to lean into it as fully as you can. So I encourage you guys, take time out, get the book, study it, find your why. That's about the best I can offer you from somebody who's like well past college.
Wow, wow, wonderful, wonderful, Eric. That was a lot of training. In fact, I think it's worth checking it multiple times because some of the things you said. Now, my question to you is on that, just to get us started into a little bit of a discussion, since we have a little bit of time, that for the young professionals, when they come in, at least I was not in that stage to really grapple on the things that you said and really grasp it and understand it and decipher it. It was kind of, I would think it would be kind of my way above my head, or so to speak. So in that case, what are the tips you give to the young professionals who are not even open-minded, who are not even there, and they want to get in? And I understand these things are at least part of it, some of the things that you mentioned. So, but for young people to get to that point or to understand it better or faster,
You know,
what would be that tip?
first understand that this is not like tomorrow I'm going to fix it and put it all back together. That we have to recognize that we are here on average in the US till we're 78. We're going to be unpacking and leaning into more and more what our purpose, what our passion is, and it's going to evolve and it's going to transform. But if you're sitting right now and it's like, man, this isn't it. You know, if you can sit in silence for a moment and just see your life, and you begin to feel like, I just don't feel like this is it, then you probably already know that there's something else you should be doing or leaning towards, but you haven't figured out what it is. And that's really what the guide is a way to begin to unpack it. And I'm not saying be crazy like me and quit your career and run out the window and, join an ashram or whatever. But what I am saying is be open to the possibility that maybe there's something different than what you thought. And maybe during your free time, your weekends, instead of binge watching something on Netflix, pick up a book about it. Go volunteer someplace near it. Talk to other professionals that are in that thing that you think might be the thing that you were really called to do. You can unpack it slowly or you can unpack it quickly. It ultimately is your choice. For me, that walk around Australia for a year, I had to sell everything and be willing to come back to nothing. And that was a bit extreme, but that's kind of my nature. You might be a little more cautious and need to do it a little differently.
Can I ask a
Oh,
question?
please.
Okay. I like your story that you talked about your son, that you brought him the block puzzle and you thought that he will occupy 3 days of your weekend, and he did it within less than 3 hours and surprised you. And you thought, wow, my son, I'm so proud of my son. He's so successful. The word successful is, when we are talking to the young Titan, how do they define successful for themselves? And there is a big society outside, and how the society defines successful for me, because they have their own understanding of successful.
It's really hard. And the way I grew up, I'm the only son. So I'm not only the only son, I'm the firstborn son, and all of the labels that go with that. And then having a mother who was a single mother for a number of years, and then my dad is I'm going to get this wrong, a mechanical engineer. So in his world, everything has a formula and a box and a place that it fits, because he was specialized in packaging mechanical engineer. I felt like success meant blank: money, car, house, family, staying out of jail. And when I looked at people that had money, car, house, family, and weren't in jail, and they complained every day about their life, about their family, about their car, about their money, I was like, really? This is what life is? This is what it's supposed to be a grown-up, is to be unhappy? So you have to define your own success. The odd thing is, if I appealed to somebody's level of success as, well, you're a success if you can become, financially or have a portfolio worth $1.3 million by the time you're 30 years old, you're a success. And as soon as I said that, Raj could probably go, well, you know what? I know a guy who did it at 22. So does that mean I'm a failure? Like, am I now labeled a failure because I created $1.3 million in portfolio wealth, but somebody did it 8 years earlier? My value as success has to be internalized because the external will always change. Sometime, somewhere, they're going to create something that's more important than the Nobel Prize. And all of those Nobel Prize winners who we thought were successes are really going to be failures because there's now going to be a whole nother prize level to chase. And that's exhausting. I'm not going to spend my life chasing somebody else's prize.
That's wonderful, Eric. I mean, that level of depth that you went into, I think, is not only for young titans, but for people at any level in their life, if they have not achieved their dreams. Because the bottom line is, you
Yeah.
shouldn't be dying with music is still inside you. And some people realize it at younger age. Some people realize it never. Okay. At the end of the days, they are wondering, I should have, I could have, I would have done this, but it's too late now. So, your point actually is one that should pertain to everyone if they're not living the life that they want to live. And you're right, success is different for everyone, how you define it. The question that I would definitely ask you is, specifically at a younger age, when you're still trying to explore. You now went off to Australia and you did all the things. Obviously, not everybody has that liberty or has that courage. Let's put it this way, has that courage to break away from that. And they conform to what the social pressure is. And that social pressure many times leads to many unhappy lives. I have been dealing with a lot of people with the monetary things, with the wealth and everything. And I can tell you very clearly that because their mindset is not there and they are not happy in what they are doing, they are living literally, people making really great money are living with a paycheck to paycheck mentality. Whatever they are making, they are spending because that is what is giving them sort of the so-called happiness, which is not the happiness, but that is what they're trying to make their social status and everything, and they are afraid and scared. So, from your perspective, a young guy who has started out in a job or in a profession which they don't like. Now, obviously, you gave a whole idea about the why, which is really, really great because everybody has to get their why. But all the social pressures that are out there, what way to, or what could be the clue they can take that they can fight? Because the problems will be coming directly from their own family, people who love them, who think the best for them. Like you said about your mom, everything was for your own good. But you realized it. Many people don't realize it until it is too late. What would be your message to those people? How should they approach this?
It's so when I look at money, that's a limited resource. No matter how much it is, there's always a limited resource. When I look at being the CFO, there's only so many CFO positions in a company. So that's a limited resource. Everything that we're programmed or told to chase really has a limit. And so I'm chasing a limited resource. When I think of joy, when I think of happiness, when I think of peace, that's an unlimited resource. And so I would rather focus on moving towards something that is unlimited, unachievable to max out, so to speak. When I look at people that have great wealth and they're unhappy, what normally happens, and Raj, you've probably seen it, they sabotage their wealth. They make stupid investments. They start spending foolishly. They program themselves to get rid of it, thinking that if I get rid of this thing that I thought was successful, then it will be replaced by something that makes me happy. I've seen people, we've seen it with Tiger Woods, top of the game. Like, you don't get much higher than him in the golf world. He had to drive his car into a tree to hit the reset button. We've seen it with presidents and heads of state who end up in affairs with, 10, we've seen people who we perceive as successful sabotage it and blow it up because they were chasing what I call those limited resource success markers: fame, titles, money. And then we see other people who seem to be abundantly successful and unattached to any of that, but yet they still have wealth. They still have recognition and influence. It's because, again, they've tapped into what brings me joy.
Yeah.
And I would rather be in the office with somebody who's like, man, I love working with you guys. This is so ultimate. And it's like, you realize you just crushed a $2 million deal. Yeah, but did you see that? We get to go help this company save their company, and then we'll have employees, and the employees will be able to send their kids to school, and then the families will, like, those are the CFOs I want to work with. Not the ones that, like, yep, we hit our benchmarkers, we hit our quarter line markers. Mm-hmm. So yeah, as a young professional, society and life is going to tell you what to do. I mean, we're all subject to it. When I came back from living in Uruguay, it was really hard to push back against Western civilization telling me that we had to have this size house, this size car, that we needed to go out to dinner this number of times a week, that my kid had to be in this football league or that tennis club. And we got sucked into it, like, and all of a sudden I was like, why is Amazon at our front door every day? And why do we get packages on the doorstep that we all guess? Like, what's in here? Like, why are we consuming at such a rate we don't even know what's showing up at our house? And it took a lot for me as a dad to go, it's ended. It's over. You're going to hate me. You're going to yell at me. You're going to fight with me. But this is not who we are. And this is not where our value comes from by how many times Amazon can show up at our house. And so holding the line is even difficult for me now today, because I don't want to be seen as the dad whose kid didn't get to play the ultimate tennis league with the ultimate clothing and the ultimate racket. And like, but it's like, is that what I want my son to grow up believing his value is based on what comes in an Amazon box? Or would I rather sit with him like we did the other night and have a backyard camp out and just explore being together?
That's beautiful. Great answer, right to the point. And I hope people can understand and get the gist of it, because the sooner you get it, the better off you're going to be. Many times it takes years for people to just understand these small things, and they are so basic but so complex, because truth is always simple. What I would love for everybody to do right now is to definitely download your ebook. So we gave the link, but it is Success Life U, SUCCESSLIFEU, the word u.com/y. If you haven't downloaded it, I will recommend, and the link is going actually scrolling at the bottom. Get it now. This is going to be a life changer for you. That's how important it is. So I cannot emphasize it more than that. Okay, Sheikh.
Yeah. Yeah, Raj, that's definitely. And Eric has a live session going on, small tips, but every day or regular basis, what he does, I think that's giving out a lot, and I benefit out of that. I can tell you that. And there are still people that I see and I meet who are not interested in any of these. So it is what it is. They have a different way of learning, I guess, or what it is. Sometimes people think that's not worth their time and everything. But all I can say, you have not, if you have not started that and you have not tried that to learn, the best thing that anybody can do, which I hear from every day from every successful people, is that learn something new. Learn something new every day, and there was a saying that I really liked at some point. I think it was by Rumi. He said that yesterday I was clever, so I wanted to change the world, and today I am wise, so I want to change myself. So I think that's probably what we are missing. That's probably what we need to do. But again, the young professionals, they don't know what you said. There's a really profound message in there that in your story, Eric, already, that as a biochemist, you left that career that completely, and which I or you, none of us do recommend people or suggest, but it's their own prerogative or own decision. But if that is not what they meant to do, that is not what they need to do. And if
And
that's
and
if
it was often when you're sitting in that, you're like, this isn't what I'm going to do. I'm going to quit and sell everything and go wander off because Eric told me to. Had I been able to have some insight about what brought me joy, I may have been able to take where I was and begin to transform it from the inside into what I needed it to be. But because I had been programmed what my life should look like as a biochemist, I couldn't see outside of that. But there is easily a way I could have taken that and said, okay, instead of being in research lab, I can be meeting with people one-on-one and doing diagnostics and all of that through that level. But again, I didn't have the insight of understanding what my passion and what my joy was. And so for me, it was like I couldn't see outside of that box until I got so far out of that box that looking back, it's like, yeah, now I would have probably really enjoyed doing geriatric research and medical intervention without, all of this stuff, but I couldn't. The thing was when I was in Australia and I remember walking, hiking, crawling for like a couple hundred miles one day between towns, and this huge storm cloud was coming at me, and I was like, okay, Eric, you have no control right here, so you might as well just suck it up and go with it. That's what my life had felt like up until then. Like I have no control over my life. It's almost like everybody else is leading and guiding it. And when that storm cloud came, it was so refreshing because it's like, I get it. Even in the midst of feeling out of control, I have control over how I approach this situation. And so I really encourage you guys. I'm not saying, call your mom, telling her you're canceling and moving out in your fellowship practice, or you're quitting your residency or whatever you're involved in, but pull a little bit of time to the side. Take a little bit of like commitment, saying Wednesdays or Tuesdays, I'm going to really figure out what my why is. And then how can I lead that to what I'm doing, or lead myself with the skills and talents and resources I have to where I want to go.
no, that's definitely wonderful. I value that, and as you said also, it's not that you'd know, but at some point there are times in life that comes in that you will know that you need to get out. And I saw that in Raj also, who actually got out of his job, and a very high paying job, I'm sure, as a CFO. And but at the same time, the other thing I need to say, and I would like to say to the young professionals, that if you are in an industry, in fact, we had a speaker, Afsana Akhtar, and her husband, Jeff Sion, came last weekend. Talked about it. It's in the YouTube channel or in the Facebook page also. That when you are good, you really have to be good. You have to make that differentiation from the crowd. And there are a couple of books. One of the books I read, one is called Lynchpin by Seth Godin, and there's another book by the same writer, Purple Cow or something like that. I think it's basically in one sentence I can say that make a difference, be that linchpin of your career, of your industry, of whatever you are, your organization, and then make a difference. So
Yeah, and every industry, every office, every team, every organization, there's that person that knows their strengths so clearly that when they walk in, the problem and the almost gets compressed in time. It's like, man, how could we not see that? And it's like, what do you mean? It was staring me right in the face. No matter what you're doing, when you're leaning into what your true strength, your true giftedness is, people are going to step back and go, I don't know how you came up with that, but man, you nailed it. You can do that in anything as long as you're doing it from a place of purple cowness.
Right, right, yeah. Raj, you have anything to add on that, and any more questions? I don't see any live questions yet. People who are watching, or maybe you're watching, put your questions anywhere and download that book. That's in the also in the comments as well, and it's going to be in the website too, so you can have your answers and some of the deep dive, some of the discussion that we are doing today and more. Yes.
Yeah,
Dr. Haida, you want to ask a question?
I'm just thinking like I'm a young Titan and young person, and I'm very young. How do I find out that what I like? You know, what is my liking? When do you start finding out that this is what? Like you went to biochemistry, but then you didn't like the lab. Same thing with me. My mother was an OBGYN, and I did not want to see staying in the operation theater or the chamber and only talk to one or two people at a time and spend my day and night. You know, that's something that did not appeal me. And when I came to know that I like people, I was like in charge of a clinic, but I would not only limit to my patients. And I said, because there were not many things in family planning. I said, bring your mom, bring your mother-in-law. I will check them. I will give you a prescription. I cannot give you medicine from my clinic because you are not my target population. But I'll be happy to check those. So I started liking that I like people. I like more people, not only a few, and I can do something better and I feel good. So when a person starts understanding me and think that, okay, this is my direction and not that. This is my area and not that. So in your life, maybe you can share or you can give a general understanding that how you explore your qualities, your liking and your disliking. What is the rule or a formula, so it will be easy for them to understand. Yeah.
So, and I kind of go into a more in depth in the book, but for me, I would call what you described as like bringing everybody that you could find into the clinic as that shut up. It's like, okay, we got it. You'll take anybody and you'll help anybody. You don't have to tell us again. You knew that when you were talking about who else can I help, you became alive. You were just like, I'll tell anybody. Like, even if they don't live near me, I'm going to tell them if they need me, how to find me. And people around you were probably going, shh, shh, we can't take any more people. There's no more room. How are we going to pay for this? And you were like, I don't know. We'll figure it out. Like, I can't stop this part of me from being expressed. And sometimes I'll go into an office and I'll see somebody who maybe has a particular job assignment. No disrespect, Raj, but he might be the financial person. And he keeps adding information to the marketing team or making suggestions about marketing and branding and messaging and customer service. And everybody goes, no, Raj, you're just the money guy. We don't listen to the money guy when it comes to marketing. And everybody's telling you to shut up. And you're like, but I love talking about marketing and messaging and branding. And everybody's telling me to shut up. Then I would tell Raj, maybe you need to figure out how to move closer to marketing and branding, or being engaged in that part of the financial aspect more than just making sure that all of the columns get zeros in the right places. You're going to know, or you can even go back to when you were a kid, before you had the obligation of taking care of a wife or a husband or for children, their mortgages or parents. When you had all of these responsibilities suddenly build the box for you, there was a time you were allowed to live outside of the box and just be you. What were you most often doing when you were allowed to just be you? Was it reading? Was it writing? Was it creating? Was it volunteering for certain organizations? Before responsibility took over your dream, what did you do? And you can look at a little girl who may be, pretending to be a school teacher and say she loves teaching. And how did she end up over here being a financial analyst? Responsibility took her away from her dream. So how do we give her back that ability to be a teacher and a financial analyst? Maybe she teaches other financial analysts. Maybe she teaches families how to analyze their own finances and create wealth, whatever it is. I can look at my son, and unfortunately, school doesn't necessarily have a spatial intelligence quotient that they can measure for him to get into Harvard. But clearly, my son has a spatial intelligence or an object relations intelligence that is above maybe the norm. So, how do I look at him and go, okay, you have a gift and a joy in putting things together in a way that creates something else? You know what? As a biochemist, you could re engineer genotypes into cures for COVID. But only if you recognize that that skill, that talent, that strength you have could be applied this way to create something unseen. But if I can't connect what he's naturally gifted and talent and intelligent at to what he's told he has to be, he'll always fight against what he's told to be versus what he knows he can be.
I, can you? I lost the audio, Eric.
Yeah.
Okay.
Wait, just got Eric. Is your audio okay? Can you say something?
Yes, I'm here.
Perfect.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, we lost it for a little bit.
Oh, well, that was the best part. We're just going to have to watch the replay together.
Well, we will read your lips.
So, Raj, so let's wrap up because we are almost towards the end of our 75
Yeah.
minutes. We can a
Sure.
couple minutes early, no issues. But just wanted to inform everybody that next 2 weeks would be our time off. In one sense, have a great Thanksgiving, of course. But Raj, you wanted to add something on that matter for our audience?
Well, first of all, let me thank Eric. Eric, this has been wonderful session. And if people can take just 10% out of what you have just said, only 10%,
Only 10%.
life, good it is. And I would encourage everyone to listen to Eric on his website and his Facebook, where he has quite a few things. And Eric, maybe you can tell them how to actually engage with you, because that will be great. Because people love hearing more about the things that you just said. But for next couple of weeks, next 2 weeks, we are going to call it R&R, which is a rest and recoup week,
Yeah.
where we would like
Recoup.
recoup, absolutely. Because what we would like to do is we are going to set up links where we will give you the links to all the speakers that have already come, and you can go back and listen to that to add value, because you definitely need a little bit of a rest in between, instead of us bringing you uh, new speakers every single time. Because going back and listening, I am telling you, can give you a lot more than you might have just heard the first time, because these things have so much value that you can easily miss small things. And when you go back and listen, make notes. That's important. Make notes in your own handwriting. It's really important. That'll help you. But Eric, maybe you can give a little bit about how people can reach you, and how they can follow you, or anything.
Well, first, thank you for allowing me to share this time with your group and the young professionals. Um, you know, part of us would say, oh, if I could go back and do it all again. But the truth is, none of us want to go back and do it all again. That's why we're here. We're hoping that we can save you the journey and that you can expedite it. So I will simply say, enjoy your journey. This is yours and yours alone. And it's going to be an incredible, amazing journey if you stay open to it. I look forward to the next 50 years of my life and that part of the journey. And then if you want to be a part of it with me, Eric G. Reid is pretty much an easy connection, whether it's on Facebook or Twitter or Instagram, or Success Life, the letter U, as in university.com, is always an easy way to connect as well.
Wonderful. So yes,
well,
Sheikh, let's wrap up. I think this has been a wonderful session, and I think it's time to let people uh, think in what has been said, and get to know everything what has been told today. So
yes,
Thank
absolutely.
you. Yeah, this was quite a dictionary. This was quite a dictionary. So you really have to go and read all the words and understand the meaning of it and the context of it. Thank you very much, Eric, from my
Well,
side.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Eric. Just one thing, did you mention your book name? I don't know if the audience.
oh, 12 Principles of Success. So the 12 Principles of Success is currently due out in January. It's only taken me about 50 some years to write. So no, um, I'm glad it's done. It's off my desk. It's in the publisher and the editor's hands. But it really is sort of all of this plus all of the teachers that I have learned from and all of the lessons and laws and things that have guided me. It's not in any way complete, but at least it's a consolidation of an entire bookshelf.
Oh, wonderful. No, I think everybody have to have a copy of that. I mean, definitely, I know I'm interested, and you really took that time. I mean, it is everything that from your head that you put together. You might be taking a few months or a couple of years or less than a year to put it together, but it comes with all of your experience and everything, right? So I'm sure it has that value. But definitely, we're excited. But just to everybody let you know, that nice message. Yeah, get that message again up, Jovita. So next 2 weeks, we're going to call it a rest and recoup, as Raj said. So that way, check out Facebook page and the YouTube videos and all the videos. So that way you will have that time with and have a great time with the Thanksgiving with family and everything. And then we'll see you live here in December 5th. And in the meantime, if you have any comments, any post, anything that you want to share, anything, please do so in our page and Facebook group will be coming up soon also. But at this moment, email us at info@unixleadership.com or in the Facebook page or comment in the YouTube or Facebook page. And of course, visit Eric and Raj's website. And for us, any of us or anybody who are not here, such as Ian Roberts, Arthi Moore, Ron Cooper, and all of us. So thank you so much. We'll see you later again. So have a great weekend. Have a good weekend, weekdays and night or wherever you are. Bye-bye now.
Have a great weekend. Okay, bye. Bye.
Thank you, Dr. Halida. Thank you.
Thank you.